comic book junkies, it's the Frog Queen here, and today I'm coming at you with another comic book review. March 28th of this year saw the release of Realms Volume 1 by Seth M. Peck and Jeremy Hahn, colors by Nick Filardy, and letters by Thomas Maurer. You know Seth from X-Men and Jeremy from Image Comics' The Beauty, which is actually very beautiful. This story hails from the genre of fantasy clashing with reality, sort of like the unappealing Bright movie Netflix recently put out with Will Smith, except this story is actually entertaining. Somehow the world we knew on Earth was flooded with all kinds of evil fantasy creatures bent on chewing up humanity. It's a post-apocalyptic Earth with humanity living in small settlements fighting for survival. Sound familiar? Anyway. I'm going to start with my criticisms first this time. Honestly, although I really liked the introduction to the main characters, and I liked most of the characters in general, I really didn't like how many of them there were. There are so many characters thrown at you right in the beginning. A lot of them felt unnecessary, which I assumed meant they would be dead shortly. As they died, I really didn't feel any significant loss. There's a common thread with stories these days where many writers seem to think that they can simply create some average Joe and kill him off, and it's supposed to shock the reader or move them emotionally. Honestly, there's only one character in this book who could have died in Volume 1 that I would have cared about, and spoiler alert, it's the damn kid who cannot die, so there. But allow me to rant for a couple more minutes here and say that I'm just tired of this typical Western writing style that seems to so desperately want to slay their characters a la George R. Martin, but simply cannot seem to make them matter to me or most people. There's a reason why Martin's characters being killed off, along with someone like Rick Remender in the comic book world, who's always guilty of killing off interesting characters, actually provokes a strong reaction from the reader, either bad or good, and that's the fact that they put so much effort into the development of the character within the story. There's nothing more frustrating than seeing into the soul of a character, watching them interact meaningfully with the other cast, only to then have them ripped away from the pages in some unforeseeable and often untimely demise. The death of the characters in Realm provoked no reaction besides a simple rolling of my eyes. And that's the point I got to while reading The Walking Dead. All the death became run-of-the-mill, and it felt like many characters stuck around long past their expiry date, and that's another rant for certain. But there's a reason why I'm such an avid manga fan these days, because for whatever reason, Japanese manga writers really know how to get you to get to know the character very well before they do something awful to them. They show you the meaningful relationships that characters have to one another. They don't simply tell you in one panel and then kill them off in the next. That's so cheap, and frankly, it underestimates the reader. That's how I feel about Peck in this series. He's made a few good characters and then spent very little time on the ones he intends to get rid of, so that their deaths, for us, are ultimately meaningless. Despite the fact that the plot starts out looking like your typical RPG fetch quest, the party does meet an interesting character along the way, a boy who seemingly cannot die, whose history is unknown and mysterious. We also have our main character Nolan, who appears to have some trouble with one of his arms. He proceeds to have dreams about it devouring him in some manner, or some fantastical infection spreading throughout his body. I won't spoil the whole thing for you, you'll have to read it to find out. They do leave you as somewhat in the dark, as I suspect this is a series meant to carry on for quite some time, and likely as long as they can possibly milk it for. These characters aren't bad, but notably, the most interesting characters are male, except for one masked and armored woman who is an excellent fighter, but very quiet, and in 120 pages, we've learned nothing more about her. She's just an excellent fighter, and she wears a big mask. Okay, I actually do have some positive things to say. The artwork is beautiful. It's lovely, in fact, and I enjoy the coloring, although it's not my typical indie rock simplistic palette. Each panel is polished and is very pretty. And despite some problems with the actual story, I find, I've already complained about, I actually am complaining about more and more books like this. but I found it a very enjoyable read despite this, and I will pick up more of the series simply because I'm interested to see what's going on with that boy who comes back to life. Essentially, however, there is so much going on in the story, with many little hints being dropped throughout, that it risks being too complicated for a monthly. That's why I'm afraid I'll be waiting for the trade for this one. Well, I think that's it for me for this review. Please hit that like button if you like this video, share it on Facebook and Twitter. Also, I've been streaming on Twitch lately. I'm playing Nier Automata on there, which is a surprisingly difficult game, but an awesome RPG hack and slash, so I'm enjoying it. Come hang out with me over there. Just follow The Frog Queen. Link will be in the description below. Follow me on Twitter for notifications on when I'm going live, and as always, until next time, read something good.